guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Lorena, I'm an astrologer and I do astrology readings and videos here on YouTube. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you can stick around and enjoy my content. And if you like what I post over here, make sure to follow my Instagram and my TikTok as well, because I do post daily astrology content over there too. In this video today, we are going to have a look at Selena Gomez's birth chart, and this is definitely not a biased reading. I'm super excited to be doing this, and I really admire her, and I'm going to try to make this as educational as possible. We're going to try and have a look at her life experiences and how they are represented in her birth chart. But without any further ado, let's have a look. Alrighty, so this is her birth chart. She was born on July 22nd, 1992 at 7:19 a.m. at Grand Prairie, I think it's called, in Texas, USA. The very first thing that I'm noticing over here is that she does have a fair share of Leo energy. She does have a Leo, Mercury, and Venus, and also an ascendant here, as well as Chiron in the first house. Now, you may know that the first house is responsible with your physical appearance, but it's also a big representative of your self-identity, and all the planets that go in the first house are more evident in your external aura. So, although she has a Cancer sun, we will see over here that she does have a lot of Leo energy that is perceived by those around her. Particularly the ascendant in Leo means that whenever you walk into a room, you make a presence. So people do notice you. There's something about your aura, there's something about your external appearance that is extremely radiant, and that is also going to make the sun your chart ruler. Now, because her chart ruler is the sun in Cancer, in the 12th house at 29 degrees. This is a very critical and somewhat uncomfortable position for her sun to be in. Of course, because it is in Cancer, it does give her ego a need to be compassionate, a need to connect with her intuitive energy. Because it's in the 12th house, it also emphasizes that a very big focus of her life, it is focused around mental health and overcoming invisible obstacles. So if you have a sun in the 12th house, you will know that maybe connecting with spirituality or really paying attention to your mental health will be one of your biggest focuses in your life. You sometimes have to overcome some form of mental health diagnosis, or you just have a lot of mental demons, I wanted to say, that you need to learn to become aware of and overcome in order to grow in your life and in your career as well. So we can see that this is her chart ruler, and because it is her chart ruler, she has also made this aspect of her life quite public. So for instance, she has launched Rare Beauty, which is a beauty company, and she does donate a part of the profits to a mental health organization. And I think that's a pretty well way of addressing your birth chart potential, because when your chart ruler is in the 12th house, it does mean that a very big focus of your life will be on not only overcoming your own mental health, but also advocating for those who are in suffering positions. So we do see people with influential placements in the 12th house sometimes working in an intuitive career, or working in prisons, or working in a hospital, in a place where you can help people, not necessarily to physically help them, but to offer mental health support. So that is definitely very interesting. Now, at the same time, in her first house, she does have Venus and Mercury. This means that firstly, with Venus conjunct the ascendant, there's an element of beauty in her chart that is also visible on the outside. Venus is the planet of the most feminine energy and artistry and beauty. So when you have that conjunct your ascendant, there's like your Aphrodite on the outside. I think, what actress had this as well? I see her. Was it Megan Fox? No, I don't think it was Megan Fox. I think she had some form of Pluto close to her midheaven. I do not remember, but I know there's another very beautiful actress who also has Venus on top of her ascendant, and I thought that's a very good explanation. At the same time, Mercury in her first house makes her communication abilities in general pretty good. I do have some objections here, however, because she does have I think she has come out with a bipolar disorder diagnosis, and that is definitely seen through indicators of neurodivergence in her chart. With Mercury retrograde and the Neptune in the 6th house, these placements usually bring some problems when it comes to organizing the mind and remaining like 100% practical. Now, what I've seen, and this is merely based on my personal research and the way that I worked with my customers, I have noticed that a lot of people who have Mercury retrogrades and Neptune in the 6th house and intuitive placements in general also tend to have a diagnosis or have a tendency to be on the neurodivergent spectrum. Now, what I believe this is, and again, remember, this is not actual medical studies, this is only my opinion and my observations so far with the people that I've worked with. When your mind is naturally intuitive, your part of your body is here present on earth, and it's present and aware of what is going on with your physical self, and then part of you is somewhere lost in the spiritual realm. This is why intuitives are usually quite receptive to energetic fields, and when you don't have your undivided attention to just your physical body and you're aware of a higher level of awareness, sometimes you have struggles to keep an organized routine or even to be what we call healthy with the mind. But from what I have researched, from what I have Googled actually, I have found out that actually right now the psychology community seems to start to look at neurodivergence as not a big problem. Definitely there's medication for it that helps you to manage your daily routine better, but there's also a lot of unique things that come with neurodivergence, things that if you keep them supervised and with your therapist, with your psychologist, with your doctor, under medical supervision, you can really take advantage of benefits of intuition as well. So just keep that in mind as we go through this, because I definitely believe that she doesn't just have an empathic side to herself. I do think that she feels the energetic field around her, and she does have an element of intuition about her as well. And Mercury retrograde can show that through a higher difficulty to express herself and maybe to overthink about her ideas. Mercury opposite Saturn can definitely show that. Saturn being retrograde can also show that there could have been a father figure absent, physically or emotionally or both, from her life, and as a result, not necessarily as a result, but these things are sometimes tied together. Mercury retrograde, there is some form of carefulness with how she expresses herself, and although Mercury's retrograde, she does so in a very kind and creative way as well. We do see a lot of comedians and actors actually with Mercury and Leo, because Leo is that energy that wants to shine and to be creative and to be out there, right? So when you have Mercury retrograde, it does not make you unable to speak, but sometimes it does disorganize your mind. And because Mercury is in the 1st house, sometimes both extremes are visible within her. So sometimes you do see that part of herself where she's stuttering. Other times you do see that part of herself which is very funny, aka Alex Russo. Now, in the 1st house, you can also see that she has Chiron, and this is where things get a little bit complicated. Not only does she have Chiron in the 1st house, which is an Aries house by default, but she also has Aries intercepted in her chart. This means that there are some problems asserting herself and fully standing into her own power by default, and this is a soul wound that she is addressing in this life. It's not necessarily something that has come along to make her life difficult. This is definitely just something that was meant to open her eyes in terms of how she could grow. So this is definitely something that your soul would choose, for instance, to overcome. But yes, with Aries intercepted, we can see a lack of fully standing into your power. A tendency to have low self-worth is possible as well, with Chiron being in the 1st house and also Aries intercepted, as Aries is the zodiac sign that leads you to want to take action and to be an entrepreneur and to go for things. Aries is this unapologetic energy that just wants to get things done, but it does so from a place of confidence and desire to lead others. Whenever you have Aries wounded energy in your chart, this usually is represented by a strong Saturn in Aries, or Saturn in the 1st house, Chiron in the 1st house, Aries intercepted. One of these 3 or 4 placements, then you would have a little bit of work to do in order to fully focus on yourself first before achieving career goals, or just in general before prioritizing a relationship, for instance, because we know in the birth chart the first house and the seventh house are opposites, and when the first house is wounded, the seventh house may suffer too. Now in her case, the seventh house does have some interesting placements as well, and the seventh house is a Libra house by default actually, which is also intercepted in her chart. So whenever you have a zodiac sign intercepted, you do see the opposite zodiac sign intercepted as well. So you can see the third house over here starts in Virgo, you can see it over here, and then the fourth house does not start in Libra, which is the natural next zodiac sign. It starts in Scorpio, so Libra is skipped. Does this mean that she doesn't understand balance in her life? No, she's a businesswoman. She does have very good business connections, or at least, she has started a company, so I'm pretty sure she's doing very well in this chapter. But Libra is also the zodiac sign of relationships and harmony, and, allowing yourself to give enough energy to yourself and then give that same amount of energy to others, not giving too much from yourself, not giving too much to others. So having the right balance between, how much you love yourself versus how much you love others. And I feel like she started off this life with a lot of, I'm ready to give my energy to others. And as she grows through life, she does notice, okay, now it's time for me to focus on myself a little bit more. Chiron conjunct Venus can show us that the relationship sector will be the primary place through which this healing work will be projected. So you will see sometimes, for instance, if you have Chiron conjunct Mercury in your chart, that is an indicator that your wounds are going to be shown through the way in which you express yourself, or through problems of the mind, through maybe having mental health issues as well. So the mind and the way that it functions is usually going to be a signal that, hey, you need to heal something here. In her case, it's Venus, which is the planet that rules Libra as well. So again, it points out towards that imbalance in her life and the need to bring that balance within in order to enjoy balance within her connections with others. The seventh house, the house of romantic connections and relationships, has Saturn and Lilith in it. Usually when you have Saturn in the seventh house, you do tend to get married or settle down or experience some form of relationship upgrade around the Saturn return. Which, by the way, I randomly had this idea to read her chart like 2 days ago or yesterday, I don't even remember. And it was like I was in my bed, I was getting ready to go to sleep, and suddenly I'm like, I should do Selena Gomez's birth chart. And I look at her birth chart and I see she has an Aquarius Saturn. And if you do not know, Saturn is in Aquarius right now, and it's somewhere in the middle. And I'm like, oh shoot, what are her transits right now? And I click the transit chart, and boom, Saturn at 16 degrees exactly conjunct her Saturn. Wow. So she's at the peak of her Saturn return, and I would be surprised if she doesn't announce a relationship that started this year, to be honest with you. Not to be nosy, of course, the purpose of this is not to make predictions. I just want to analyze, how transits compare with her life, which is why we're going to have a look at some dates in her past. But I would be surprised if she doesn't have some upgrades in the partnership or romantic relationship sector throughout this year. So yeah, throughout this seventh house in Aquarius transit, we can definitely, maybe she won't announce it straight away, but we can see an upgrade in the sector of life. Lilith in the seventh house can bring some control struggles. In the seventh house, we sometimes see a person that rejects a relationship if they're not in control of it, or if they were not the initiator of the relationship. So in this case, for instance, if she were to date someone and maybe if another person would want to approach her, she would reject it if she wouldn't be interested first. This is a common tendency for Lilith in the seventh house, but it doesn't always happen that way. It can also show through a desire to control the outcome of a relationship and to, maybe hang on to a relationship for a little bit longer than expected. But definitely Saturn returns, so around this year she will experience quite a lot of maturization in this sector of life. So yeah, that's cool. Alrighty, now you can see that she also has a T-square going on in her chart, so she has this very big opposition going on between the first house and the seventh house, but she also has a Pluto in the fourth house, which is marking the third vertex of this triangle. Now, Pluto is the planet of rebirth and transformation, and it usually shows where you experience a lot of, the death of the ego and learning how to do things in a new way. This is where you transform. And the fourth house is the house of the home environment, the family, and where you're coming from. Now, because the fourth house also represents how you act at home and also how you perceive your mother, early childhood, this is actually a pretty interesting placement. I don't know what her relationship with her mom is like, and I'm not saying that it's a bad one. I do think it's a pretty strong one, because mother-daughter in general, these relationships are good. I'm just assuming. But when the fourth house starts in Scorpio, there's a level of there's something mysterious about your mother or your parent. If you have the 10th house in Scorpio, this usually applies for your father. There's an element of mysteriousness, like not fully understanding your mother as a child, and maybe seeing your mother as someone like their intentions are not easily perceived, they're not easily anticipated as well. It doesn't necessarily point towards a problematic connection, but there could have been a desire for control from her mother's side. Pluto in the fourth house tends to be a little bit controlling, or it can show control struggles going within her home. So sometimes we see parents fighting with Pluto in the fourth house, or just one of the parents exerting some form of control over one of the children. Not necessarily that the parents are doing it, but this is how the child perceives it. So it's interesting that it connects with this whole opposition going on between her first house and the seventh house. It feels like she could be quite dependent on her mother in order to resolve her own healing work, or her mother would feel the need to interfere in her relationship situation in order to improve her own self-esteem. Of course, coming from the maternal instinct of protecting your baby, not necessarily from a bad place, but what Selena would probably identify this placement as: leave me alone to figure this out on my own. So definitely when we see red lines like these, it can be a placement of discord. The placements don't go along together, but by learning to find a compromise between these three placements, we grow the most. So that's about that. Now, moving on to her moon placement. Her moon is in Aries, and I love this. I don't know if you know this about me, you probably don't. The moon in Aries is one of my favorite moon placements, and I know a lot of people who are going to come up and say, what the hell are you talking about? Of course, Aries is impulsive. Aries has a temper. We all know Aries as a placement, but I oftentimes find it, especially for women, or even men, no discrimination here. Whatever you identify as, it does not matter. But from my perspective, when I see people who have a lot of dominant feminine energy in their chart, and then they have an Aries moon or Capricorn energy within their chart, I see someone with a lot of businesswoman potential. And this is because Aries energy is kind of stereotypically the Emperor. It's the Emperor tarot card. It is the card that speaks about leading others, stepping up and leading. So I find this really interesting because her emotional needs are to be independent. Hence why I was saying that her attitude to her mother or someone in her home trying to control her healing work wouldn't be so nice, even though maybe she would need the help. The moon in Aries doesn't like to be told how to do things, right? And you see this in teenagers in high school. If you are a teenager in high school, you may know this. If you are told to study a subject that you have zero passion about, you want to make the best use of your time, and you want to step up and tell others what needs to be done, or at least for you to have it your own way. AOC, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's a politician in the Democrat Party, if I'm not wrong, and she also has a Libra sun and an Aries moon. And I'm actually going to pull up her image over here just so that you can understand what I'm talking about. So let's search for AOC. Okay, so This is the Libra energy. As you can see over here, Libra energy is all about being kind, being professional. Libras are all about balance, knowing how to communicate with others in a professional way. Libra is another energy of the businesswoman, which I absolutely love. And then this is the Aries moon. I absolutely love this because Aries just likes to speak up, and you can also see it in this picture. Like, the Libra energy is all about professionalism, you know, how she's dressed, how she's speaking, and then her eyes is all about the Aries moon. The passion is seen in her eyes. So yeah, definitely, I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about at all. I love to see the moon projected in people's external appearances because it's huge. But yeah, she also has this within her. It may not be as visible early life. It may become a little bit more visible as she goes after the 30-year-old mark. But the moon in Aries loves to start a new business, to be an entrepreneur, and because the moon is in the ninth house is also the house of learning and traveling and learning new things in general. So, and when you have ninth house placements as well, you do have a great potential to be on TV or to, be famous or be seen as someone important. So definitely this can point out towards her interest in doing something that will bring her fame. At the same time, probably the placement that I was most captivated by was her Mercury, and her Mercury being at 17 degrees, which is also a Leo degree. Again, actors, comedians, they do have Leo degrees, Leo Mercuries, and she has, both of them. So definitely her actress role is motivated. But going back over here to the 10th house to elaborate on the career, the 10th house shows the public image, the social status, and how you come off into the world. And her 10th house starts in Taurus. Now, Taurus is the zodiac sign of stability, practicality, stillness, being chill as well. Taurus loves to build financial abundance and security, and it sometimes is even concerned with beauty and things that are beautiful in general. And we can see that Taurus, is ruled by Venus. That's going to make her Venus in the first house, her career ruler. Now, the good thing of her Venus being her career ruler is that it's in the first house and in Leo and conjunct her ascendant. So her beauty, her talents, her artistry are really going to be seen as part of her career. And because it's in the first house, when you have a career ruler in the first house, you're usually the face of something. You do something physically with your body, right? Like you're acting, you're moving, or you are the face of a brand. You are the face of something. So we do see, for instance, receptionists with career rulers in the first house because they are the face. When you walk into a building, they are the very first welcoming presence that you encounter. But it can also mean that you actually do something where you are a self-starter, where you are a leader, where you tell others, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. And not only that, but the second house and the 11th house rulers, which the rulers of the second house and the 11th house can point towards how you make money as well. For her, it's Mercury. And her Mercury in the first house also means through her image, through her talents, through her Leo energy, through her mind. So yeah, that's definitely visible, and her career is motivated by these placements. What I really like about her chart, however, is that her Aries energy is moderated. Her career doesn't express that Aries energy. It's more like something that she has within herself. The Mars in Taurus, Mars rules Aries, and Mars in Taurus is a very kind of careful, analytical placement. When it comes to making decisions, Mars in Taurus loves to just sit down, take a sip of coffee, eat her lunch, and then make decisions like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But Mars in Taurus does not like to rush through decisions, which sometimes, can be slow. It can be really annoying in people, but it can also be something that allows you to take the time to make the right decisions. And because it's in the 10th house, this energy is going to very visibly be seen in her career through a lot of determination. If we have a chart where the person has a lot of kind of healing work and problematic placements, and in the case of a person that is not healed, Mars in the 10th house can make you come off a little bit aggressive, but I don't think that's the case for her. And the final thing that I really like about her career, and I swear I'm done with the career, is the fact that she has her lot of fortune or part of fortune or fortune on top of her midheaven. This is very significant for people that whatever they try to do as part of their career, they succeed. And okay, they might come off with some obstacles, something may not work out straight away, but the part of fortune conjunct the midheavens, like, we're gonna make it work. Alrighty, so that's definitely a really interesting placement, especially when it comes to her motivation to build stability and to build maybe a brand that is consistent and stable and provides with a lot of beautiful energy, because Taurus ultimately is all about grace and beauty. Then she's going to be very well supported by her destiny, if you might say. That's something that she's meant to do. When we have a look at her money and financial situation, her second house starts in Virgo and has Jupiter in it. The second house in Virgo tends to be quite serious when it comes to handling one's money. And one of the lessons that you have to overcome with the second house in Virgo is that sometimes you need to relax a little bit. You don't always have to be self-critical in terms of, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right amount of money? And sometimes just allow yourself to enjoy what you are making. Jupiter, however, is a pretty lucky... Oh, here comes my cat messing with my keyboard. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, Jupiter in the second house is in general a pretty lucky placement. You may know that wherever you have Jupiter in your chart, you experience a lot of luck and abundance. And the second house, when you have Jupiter here, you are very generous with others. I have seen a lot of customers with this placement, and all of them, they just love giving their energy to others, and they a lot of times do not even expect something in return. So wanting to really spend money on things that you believe in and not expecting that energy in return. I think this just really paints the story of someone who is quite empathic and wants to especially help those with mental health struggles. But ultimately, to speak of the negatives of this placement, it's important that you do not give the money that you do not have. So if you have Jupiter in your second house, it's important to become aware of how much are you actually able to give away and to ensure your security first. But in general, Jupiter in the second house, it's a pretty good signifier of abundance, because when you are in the position to give your money, it usually comes back. That's the whole idea with money. When you are open to the idea of spending it, you receive it in return. Okay, now this is also a motivator for her routine. You can see a trine connecting her Jupiter to her Neptune and Uranus in the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of the routine, which, because it's in Capricorn, she's also very serious about her work. Kind of, if you know anyone that has Capricornian energy in their chart, she's basically a Capricorn when it comes to her work. A very big lesson that you have with Capricorn in the sixth house is to remember to relax. I know this is getting really annoying, but Capricorn is sometimes all about just delivering goals. So when your routine is focused on just getting things done, you can very easily get overworked. Because her Neptune is in the sixth house, she might have a feeling like she doesn't know how to organize her time that easily, or this is something that she's at least working on in this life. And Uranus being here in the sixth house brings a lot of unconventionality and uniqueness to her routine. So this usually makes a person want to have their own, flexible daily routine. This usually shows a person who doesn't work a 9-to-5, or if they work a 9-to-5, they end up, getting away from it, or working part-time, or working some crazier hours. I have seen actually a lot of nurses, nurses and doctors, they sometimes work really crazy schedules, let's say 2 24-hour shifts and then the rest of the week off. If you're a doctor, you might say, we work more than that, and I know, but I'm just giving an example. Having something extravagant in the area of how you organize your daily routine is very, very often shown by Uranus in the sixth house. But moving on, finally, I wanted to touch upon her soul purpose. which I usually, in my own readings, I start with the soul purpose because I just want to get that off of the way and, really support the soul purpose with the rest of her chart. But in her case, I think she's very well on the path towards her soul purpose. I do think that she's doing a really good job. And I'm not saying this because I'm a fan, or am I? I'm saying this because I've observed her work and it 100% maps to what her birth chart says that she would be good to do as well. Her South Node in the 11th house and in Gemini shows that her soul is very comfortable at interacting with people, at social networking, at helping others. When your South Node is in the 11th house, you have also spent quite a lot of your past lifetimes being of service to those around you, or focused on bringing innovations that served a higher purpose. Because the South Node is in Gemini as well, communication gifts or gifts of the mind may be brought into this life as well. And it also shows a person who has traveled a lot or was very inquisitive and open to communicating and interacting with others. Her North Node is in Sagittarius and in the 5th house. Her sole purpose is to open up to the energy of romance and to embrace having a little bit more pleasure into her life. I know this sounds like, of course, we all live a life of pleasure. We all come here, by the way, to learn how to manifest the perfect life for us. But in some cases, there are some souls who have just been like really, really dedicated to listen to others, to do what's best for others, and they need a life where it's like, a holiday. Now, her life is definitely not a holiday with all of these difficult placements, Saturn, Lilith, and Chiron in her chart in this major opposition, of course. But as she is overcoming these obstacles, she will learn how to open up to embrace passion and love and romance in her life without feeling guilty about it, without feeling fearful over losing love as well. And the 5th house is not just about love. The 5th house is also about children. It's also about creativity. It's also about just being artistic as well. So focusing on her creative abilities will be a theme of her life. At the same time, the North Node is in Sagittarius, which is the zodiac sign of higher learning, wisdom, traveling. When you have a North Node in Sagittarius, you learn to be a little bit more open-minded, to travel and to learn, to basically become a little bit wiser. Of course, the North Node stays for quite a long time in a zodiac sign, so this is not something that is very specific to her. This is specific for the people born throughout 1992 and even the second half of 1991. Am I right? Or did I mess this up? I think I messed this up, didn't I? Oh, not 100 years? Hold on, let's go a year. Oh no, it's my cat. He's on the keyboard again. Honey. Yeah, no, sorry. For those born in the second half of 1992 and 1993, because the North Node moves from Capricorn over to Sagittarius, of course, the North Node was retrograde. I mean, it is in general retrograde. I don't know why I got it. Anyway, yes, so North Node in Sagittarius, we see this in people who usually start a new cycle of their lives where they start to embrace a little bit more wisdom into their lives. So it's like becoming Jesus on one form. That Jesus was very focused on sharing wisdom, on gaining wisdom in his own life and sharing it with others. So this is also something that is a theme in her life. But yeah, all in all, this is the big story of her birth chart. I just wanted to have a quick look at the transits and show you some really cool stuff. First of all, I wanted to pull up the progressions actually for October of 2019, because October 2019 is the year where she launched her album, which was Rare. Is that right? I was like the #1 listener. I've listened to that album like the most within all of the music that I had in my Spotify list, and for some reason I forgot the name of it. Oh, come on. No, it was in 2020. Well, I've just made a mockery of myself, but I do know that Lose You to Love Me was launched in October of 2019 because I did bookmark this. So Lose You to Love Me, yeah, in October 2019. 23rd of 2019. There we go. Now, why did I find this date as really, really interesting? Is because the progressed moon was exactly on top of her natal moon. Now, you may know the fact that the progressed moon shows where there are some secondary emotional tendencies in your life for a period of 2.5 years, because that's how long it takes it to go through a zodiac sign. Now, when you turn around the age of 27, the progressed moon is right on top of your natal moon, which is a time of very heightened emotional needs, or where you feel just very emotional, very in touch with your maternal instincts. And because her natal moon is in Aries, for her the Aries energy is very healing. Her purpose in her life, remember, part of it is to overcome wounds correlated to the idea of self. She has a wounded sense of self, and when you have an Aries moon, you know, the desire, the emotional desire, is to lead, is to be confident. So when the progressed moon was exactly on top of her natal moon, there is an activation going on that offered some form of resolution, but also the emotional confidence that she needed to overcome those wounds. Now, you may know, I think she did a couple of interviews following up with that song, and she did say that releasing that song was a very healing moment for her, and I found that to be really interesting in connection with her chart. So there we go, what I wanted to show you there. But to go back to the present transits, apart from the Saturn that is on top of her 7th house, and this is going to bring a lot of relationship transformations, I'm telling you now. At the same time, her North Node is transiting over her 10th house, so something pretty big is going to happen this month, as it is on top of her Mars. And I think she released a new song with Coldplay yesterday, so I believe this is what it's about. But she will definitely have an increased focus on her career and social status within the next 1.5 years, and around 2023, so next year, let's have a look at what the exact month is. She will have a change in her social status. Now, here's the deal with the changing of social status. This can mean anything, and this will happen in July of 2023, maybe surrounding her birthday, I don't know. The midheaven is the part of your chart that is responsible with how you are seen within the world. So this is tied to your career, to your degrees, to your education, but also to your relationship status. So I wouldn't be surprised if she would get married. Maybe she doesn't want to get married. I don't know what her intentions are. If for a person that wants to get married, a North Node on top of the midheaven is usually the right time to do so. And also Jupiter transiting the 10th house at the same time does show a lot of abundance and career opportunities coming around. But yeah, so settling down for a person or having a relationship upgrade can happen even this year. So I think that's pretty cool. But apart from that, I think these are the big things to watch out for. Definitely there is going to be a build-up in her social recognition. Maybe she's going to launch a new album pretty soon throughout the next year as well. It's likely. If not, she's definitely going to have advancements in business or in the way that she's seen by others. And 2023, when Jupiter enters her 10th house, will also see her with a lot of increased confidence, especially because Lilith enters her 1st house. And whenever Lilith enters your 1st house, you have a lot more confidence. Lilith is definitely tied also to your divine feminine energy, but the dark feminine energy within that energy, and connecting with the dark feminine can make you more confident and definitely more connected with your sexuality as well. So this will happen. Lilith will enter her 1st house in April of 2023. So some final mental challenges can be overcome throughout now and between now and then, as Lilith will transit Cancer. It will be on top of her 12th house of mental health. So I wouldn't be surprised if she went through a final, time of really reflecting on her needs, on her mental health, and on the things that she needs to, heal within herself. And then 2023 is like full-on confidence, career will boom, possibly relationships too this year and moving into next year as well. So yeah, well, this was pretty much everything that I wanted to say about Selena's chart today. What do you guys think? I hope you enjoy this, and make sure that you put your questions down below if you have any thoughts on her reading. What do you think about Selena? I think she's amazing, and I think, every person, if you are here on Earth, you're doing fantastic. Living on Earth, which is one of the most difficult realities to live on is already such a big achievement. And I do know that the birth chart shows a very good sneak peek of what you're supposed to do here, kind of like on a mission, video game mission, on a quest. But just being here, just getting the experience from Earth School is fantastic, and if you're still here, I'm proud of you. But apart from that, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!